BNI. I am Ann Brennan. I am the Executive Director of BNI Central Maryland. And I gave a presentation this morning that I want to share on video because I think it's worth everybody seeing. I want to talk about how you can gain more value in BNI. If you know me, you know my goal for my region is to help my members get more business, make more money. So I want to tell you a really easy way to do that. We're going to start with talking about real value and what that is. And in this case, it really is real value, the money you make and the referrals you get. You have some control over that, and a lot of people don't realize it. So we're going to talk about one-to-ones today. Are your one-to-ones effective? For most people, I would say they're not. We say that we call those other ones fun-to-ones. It's where we sit down. I get to know about you a little bit. You get to know about me. We talk about our kids. Maybe we talk about a movie we saw. We talk about things that are interesting, but not necessarily going to help us grow our business. And what I'd like you to do is start thinking differently. So when you go into a one-to-one, I want you to think, what do I want to get out of this one-to-one today? What am I hoping to gain? What am I hoping to give? Question number 2 is, what am I hoping to give? Because it shouldn't be all about you, right? It's BNI, so it's giver's gain. It's what am I going to give and what am I going to gain? And then I want you to think about something that I use a lot in my business, and it's, will this one-to-one make my boat go faster? If you don't know that story, let me tell you very quickly what it is. A few years ago, the English rowing team had a very dry spell. For years and years and years, they had won, and then they had a very dry spell. They had not won. And it was years and years and years of not winning. And every year they would think they were there and they wouldn't win. And so this one rowing team, this one English rowing team made the decision. Everything we do this year is going to be about, will it make my boat go faster? So in this case, they would ask, will this weight workout that we're doing, will that make our boat go faster? Will this speed workout we're doing make our boat go faster? Will going out to the pub for a pint after the workout, will that make our boat go faster? If it didn't make their boat go faster, they just didn't do it. And so in this case, I don't want you to think, how can I get out of this one-to-one? I want you to think instead, how can I make this one-to-one work for me in a way that will make my boat, my business go faster? So to do that, you've got to start with 2 things. You've got to start with intention and curiosity. You have to know what your intention is in the meeting. Your intention is to grow your business, to learn about the other person and help grow their business. So that's your intention. But you've got to be curious. You've got to be curious enough to ask the right questions. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those questions. You've probably heard about the gains worksheet. I think, unfortunately, many of us do it wrong because we filled it out ahead of time and we go into it and we say, tell me about your goals, and we write it down, right? Tell me about your accomplishments, and we write it down. Instead of thinking, okay, when we ask about the goals, how do I make that a more intentional question? Meaning, I might ask about your goals, and I say, what is your goal for the year? And you say, I'm trying to grow my business 3 times. Actually, let me tell you mine. My goal for this year is to launch 10 chapters. Well, you could say, wow, that's a lot, and then move on to the next question. Or you could say, Ann, you want to launch 10 chapters. How can I help you with that? What do you need from me in order to be able to make that goal happen? So be curious. Ask that next question, whether that's when you're asking about the goals or the accomplishments or the interests. I'm going to spend a minute on networks. Networks are really important because when you find out a network that somebody belongs to, you might say, oh, I'm a part of that network as well. How can I help make it easier for you in that network to make more connections? Or how can I introduce you within my network that you don't belong to? How can I help you meet more people in my network? So ask that next question. It makes a big difference. But I want you to add on to your gains worksheet, and I want you to ask other questions. I want you to ask people about their bragging points. And I want to tell you something. I use this a lot in my other business, my marketing business. I'll say, what makes you different? And almost everybody will say to me, my customer service. I care so much about my customers. I really take care of them. And I have to tell you, that's not the answer. The answer is not the customer service, because everybody delivers good customer service. There's something else. I used this morning an example of Dowda. Dowda gives great customer service, and that's probably the answer he'd give me if I said brag about yourself a little bit. But in this case, what we're looking for is to dig deeper. And so what I would say, if he said to me, oh, it's customer service, I would say, Dowda, actually, I know you really well. Do you mind if I offer you some other advice? Makes you different. And because I'm the outside looking in, I can see it. What makes you different, Dowda, is that you think so far outside the box that when I introduce you to one of my clients, I know you're going to give them a solution to their problem that is really, really different. So that's where that would be. What are the triggers? What are people saying that trigger me to think, oh, I need to introduce you? And I like to say, what are they bragging about, complaining about, or planning for? Those three things, those will help me understand better what I'm listening for so that I can refer to you. And then ask about their golden goose referrals. Because the truth is, most of us, yes, it would be great if somebody signs a contract with me tomorrow. But you know what's better? Is when you make an introduction to me for somebody who's going to give me 20 new members down the road, because that really helps make my boat go faster. If yes, a one-off is great, but even better is when you introduce me to somebody who's going to be referring to me for the next 10 years. So think about the golden goose referral and ask that question. But here's some additional questions. These are my questions that I ask during one-to-ones. Tell me about a specific problem that happens right before they call you. So if you're a restoration company like she owns a restoration company. And if you're a restoration company, it's probably pretty easy to figure it out. They've just had a fire, or they have had a flood, or they've had some other disaster happen in their house. But for other people, it might be harder. I want to talk about, we have an exit planner. For the exit planner, that question, the problem they might have, it might not be their own problem. It may be seeing somebody else having lost their business because they didn't plan what to do in the case of a disaster, in the case of a death or a divorce or something along those lines. So ask them, what is the problem that happens right before they call you? One of my other ones is, who's your best client? Not any client, but your best, that one that you love, that when they call, you can't wait to get on the phone with them. Okay. What phrases should we listen for? There are some phrases that you listen for. A marketing company, a good phrase for a marketing company is somebody who says, I don't think there's really any strategy that's being used in my marketing. That's a really good one. Oh my gosh, I need to introduce them to a marketing company. Who are you strategically trying to meet right now? And be specific. Ask them to be specific. One of my favorite questions, or one of my favorite stories, is one of my BNI members, a person down in Houston actually told me this. She was joking one time, and she says, I have an event coming up. I really want to meet Chris Martin from Coldplay. And it was a joke. But she was like, I'm going to ask specifically for this person. I want to meet Chris Martin. And somebody raised their hand and said, he's my cousin. So you don't know who's in the room. So ask, who do you really want to meet right now, specifically, because you might know that person. Ask, if I were introducing you tomorrow, what should I say? Like, ask it specifically. How would you like me to introduce you? And here's one that people don't like to ask. And if they do ask it, the person usually answers it the wrong way. What makes a bad referral for you? And the way they answer this wrong is they say, anybody without a budget. I don't want to work with somebody without a budget. Well, of course, none of us want to work with somebody without a budget. But what makes a bad referral? Maybe there's a whole industry of people you don't like to work with, right? Or maybe there's a certain type of person you don't like to work with because for whatever reason, you'll clash. Whatever it is, that is a really good way to go. I want to go on now because I don't want to make this last too long. When you're doing, oh gosh, this went to one. I didn't want that slide. Let's go to this. When you do these one-to-ones, Doing an effective one-to-one will make you a better advocator, a better promoter, and a better creator. And I want to focus on that one for a second. By a better creator, you can create more opportunities because you may see something in the one-to-one that that person doesn't see. You may be able to see, oh my gosh, if you partner with this other person who's in our chapter or who's in another chapter or just somebody I know, you could partner and create a bigger package than you're currently offering. So the one-to-one gives you that opportunity to do a little bit more. And then at the end of the one-to-one, make sure you are telling them and making it clear to them that you're going to focus on them for the rest of the week. I'm going to help find people this week who I can introduce you to. And I want you to challenge yourself to write it down while you're there, the people who you already know, because you just sat there and thought about those people. Who are you going to introduce them to when you hang up? So do that. This is easy. It's repeatable and it's profitable. If you are intentional and you use curiosity and you use these questions, you are going to do so much better in your one-to-ones. You're going to get so much more value. I really hope this helps you. I really believe it will help you. It helps me. I get a lot of value out of my BNI one-to-ones and my other one-to-ones. And I don't do them if I don't feel like the other person's going to get value and I'm going to get value as well. So make sure you're going to be able to give and get value. We are better when we work together. I do want to say one more thing. When you live each day with intentionality, there's almost no limit to what you can do. Be intentional. That is so important in everything you do. Will it make your boat go faster? All right, everybody, I will do more of these down the road, but I hope this one helps you today. Take care. Bye-bye.